Where'd you go?
Sorry, I don't know. This fucking thing. It's okay.
Is this your first time?
I'll just cut to you.
You're gonna have to cut that whole part. Yeah. Make sure that you put some ice in that thing.
I should have drank it without ice the first time.
Why?
So I could have tasted the realness. The realness of Legion.
The realness.
Legend.
You're developing in so many ways now. I'm saying that before the show. We should rename the show Alex Huard Becomes a Man.
Becoming a Man with Alex Huard. Yeah. I'd be into that. We'll think about it.
Let's go through the tunes.
Sure.
So there's 18 of them, I think, right? Yeah. But like, what are your favorite songs from this record?
I'm going to look over to my left here because I've got them all here.
Sure.
And I mean, my God, man, like, like I said, like I think the album is great, top to bottom. I wouldn't skip a song.
Are there any skippers?
No,
there's no Alex Huard skippers.
No Alex Huard skippers. There's no skips.
No skips.
Rock's Off is great. To rip this joint is a ton of fun. You know, the joke is that like Jagger couldn't keep up. It was going so fast. You know, like, he didn't know how to keep up with it. Yeah. Shake Your Hips. That's a cover, right? That's a
Slim
cover
Harpo.
of Slim Harpo. You know, and you know, we've said that, you know, you've mentioned before that, you know, the Stones have, you know, sold black music back to America. And, you know, that's something that's come up a few times for them, but, you know, at least they know that or not even know that, but at least they recognize where their inspiration has come from. And they all say, you know, we were listening to everything, you know, we were listening to so much of that, you know, again, the Muddy Waters, the Slim Harpos, the Howlin' Wolves, the Blind Lemon, you know, like it's just, it's, you know, they recognize it, but man, it's just cool.
On that same topic, you know, we talked in earlier episodes with Steven Tyler, you know, saying I wanted to sound black, right? And that's why his voice was all fucky on the first record. And David Lee Roth did the same thing, you know, especially after he left Van Halen. But Mick Jagger had no problem doing that, right? He did it. He was the guy who kind of forged the path for that, really.
It's kind of crazy too when you think about it. I don't know, just for them to have inspiration, which sounds so stupid coming out of my mouth, but the fact that the Rolling Stones were inspired, you know, it just shows you how much further back music goes. Cause then they also cover the Robert Johnson tune on here.
Every hero has a hero, right? And that's the fascinating thing, is that like even those guys look up the line and they look at guys like Sunhouse and Robert Johnson. I think that's, and again, we talked about this, the genealogy. I love like mapping all that stuff out. It's fascinating to me.
Totally. Because you don't think about it. I feel like I never really would have thought about that when listening to the Rolling Stones. You know, you don't think about them playing other people's music or being inspired by, you know, some of those other people, which is a very, again, closed-minded. It's not a very music fan way of thinking or knowing about music, but you know, I wouldn't expect many people listening to the Rolling Stones maybe for the first time today to understand that, you know, or to recognize that if they don't have an interest in music in general, you know, or understanding the history of it.
Yeah.
So
I read this funny article about Neil Peart and the first time he met Charlie Watts was at the SARS concert in Toronto, right? And so literally it was like a minute and a half. They were on their way to the stage, Rush was, and Watts just happened to be there. And so it's told from the perspective of Neil Peart. So he's walking, and Neil Peart's not like a super social guy, right? Like he's very businesslike, and he's like, you know, he's focused, and he's not, you know, shaking people's hands. He's there to play. And so he's walking, and this little short older man comes up to him and says, hello. And he looks at him and he says, hello. And he's kind of like, he's focused on like trying to get to the stage, right? And he's like, who the fuck is this guy? And the guy says, hi, I'm Charlie Watts. And he looks at me, he's like, oh my God, it is Charlie Watts.
That's
like,
wild.
Now, like on top of the fact that I'm on my way to play in front of the SARS crowd, now Charlie Watts is here. And then Charlie says to him, because, hey, I like the way that you play. I'm going to watch you today. And then Peart's like, holy shit. On top of this, now I have like one of the Rolling Stones fucking watching me.
Analyzing my play.
Right. And he's just like, I was just, so funny. Okay. Casino Boogie is next, I think.
Yeah, this again, just fun, just a really great tune, and
it's a great song.
Yeah, and they talked about the way that Jagger wrote this. Do you know the story of how he wrote this song? Or so he wrote a bunch of lines on pieces of paper, and then he ripped them up, and then they would just kind of like they would organize the lines of lyrics. And he would just sing one. So yeah, he would just do one line here, and then okay, let's try this, and let's do this next line. It's just a really cool way of being. I didn't know that. Put the song together. You had a great groove to it, and then lyrically, it was like kind of a mishmash of a bunch of stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then he just knew how to put it all together lyrically. Yeah, the song.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, good one. Tumbling Dice, another great tune.
Sweet Virginia. What a tune, man. You know what's cool about that song is that there's so many references to, like, I love the lyrics, so that and this is one of my favorite Stone songs overall, just because it's so real. You can hear Jagger. He sounds so wounded. And he's often said, I wish the songs, I wish my vocal was mixed a little better. Like, it was like Jimmy Miller was wasted all the time, and he, it was a bunch of drunks and junkies running the show. And I wish that I could go back and remix the record. But I disagree. I think that, you listen to his first line and you hear his voice crack right off the bat. Right. But it's real. That's a real take. It's not like, oh, okay, stop. Let me do it again. And all the drug references, trying to stop the waves behind your eyeballs, drop your reds, drop your greens and blues. Like, that's speed. That's amphetamine. That's like, the uppers, downers. Like, it's just, that was their life. And they give you a glimpse through those lyrics.
And, again, recording in that basement, that's the sound that they could get. There wasn't any other sound they were going to be able to get other than a damp, dark sound. I mean, you see it, right? Bobby Keys and Jim Price are playing in a long hallway. It's like, it's echoey. It is what it is, but it just makes the record so much of what it is. And Sweet Virginia is kind of a great piece of that.
Torn and Frayed.
Yeah, it just feels really nice, man. This felt really nice. And I feel like this is where they kind of just are able to exercise their vast knowledge of music. So where it kind of comes in is where they're just really starting to experiment as well with just bringing in more of that country and folk song, and because of the way that this goes into My Sweet Black Angel, which is again one of my favorite songs on this album.
That's a political activism song. Did you know that?
No.
You listen to those lyrics, and it's about a specific girl. Her first name's Angela. I can't remember her last name. If you listen to the lyrics, it's kind of funny because Jagger, like I said, like, wants to sound black, right? And he prides himself on kind of like, ham-fisting his way through these lyrics. And if you listen, he's kind of slurring a little bit and really kind of hamming it up. But the lyrics, if you go through the lyrics, they're actually really clever, and it's activistic. Yeah, that was like their only politically activistic song until this point.
See, that's where I still feel like I'm just such an amateur, is in taking in messages of some of these songs and trying to understand what they're about. Some I get, some I kind of feel like they stand out pretty easily, but it's just still some where I'm just, I loved listening to the song, like, again, just where it landed in the sequencing, but it just, didn't take in what it was all about.
Well, it's funny because when you listen to a song and you like, that's a great example of a song where you can't really decipher the lyrics unless you really kind of, listen and focus. And oftentimes people will just listen to the song in general and not do that. Right. and you enjoy the melody of it, you enjoy the whatever it is about it. But then when you know the lyrics, you see the song in a completely different light, and you may like it in another way. You may like it less, but it's a different study of the work.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, I got to work on that. I thought I was going to start doing it after Sticky Fingers, and I did get into a little bit on this one, but I don't know. I was just enjoying this album so much.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it shouldn't be work, right?
No,
but I mean, I be enjoying it.
Totally. Right. I want to listen to it and understand a little bit about what they're singing about. And, again, I did pick up on a few messages throughout it, but this is, one I didn't pay close enough attention to, just because I think I was just too enthralled with how it sounded. I just love the way that the guitar plays, and
it's awesome,
and the melody of the song. So yeah, I was just always getting lost in that I was never like, oh, what's it about?
Next tune, Loving Cup.
Loving Cup.
One of my favorite Stones tunes again.
So good. Yeah, I don't know. It just, again, I'm a man on the mountain.
You know what makes this song?
Everything? What
Richards singing.
Oh yeah, backup. It's perfect.
Like ridiculous, right? He's never sounded so good, man. Yeah. Like his vocal. If you listen, if people who are watching this, put that song on right now and listen to the second voice in the song. That's Richards, and he is going for it, man.
Wild.
He sounds so good.
I know, it's actually crazy. I didn't. It took me some time. It actually took me to when I listened to Happy, and then I went back and I listened to Loving Cup again. I'm like, mother of God, that's Richards on the backups. That's crazy.
He's awesome. It's the essence of rock, man. I love his backups on this. This was done during the Let It Bleed sessions, by the way. This tune, Happy.
Another great song.
Yep.
Just that was Bobby Keys on the sax too, right? Yeah, he came in on alto sax. Another great sax line in this song. Richards sounds pretty good, and again, in one of those things, like we mentioned, it wasn't even the full band that recorded this. It was like Richards came in and was like, "I've got the riff, let's do it."
Yeah.
Jimmy, you're on drums. Yeah, I guess Mick would have been on bass, and Bobby, obviously, you're on the sax.
I love. There's one line in that song that I love, and it just, for me, it's completely representative of Keith Richards. And the line goes, "Never want to be like Papa, working for the boss every night and day." And that just, in my mind, that tells you everything you need to know about Keith Richards.
You know what I thought he said? Never want to be like Hoffa. Like, I thought it was a Jimmy Hoffa line. That's hilarious. Well, because he was
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I'm serious. And then he said Hoffa because the Hoffa was what? He was a union guy. That's why. Yeah, that's all it was. He said I wanted to be like Hoffa. I was like, fuck, that's clever. Now I look like it because you're laughing at me.
Oh my God. Okay.
What?
Oh my God.
Why is that so ridiculous?
I don't even know what to say.
What do you mean? What's so ridiculous about that? Why wouldn't Hoffa be a clever reference?
Why would he say that? Why would Keith Richards reference Jimmy Hoffa in a Rolling Stones song? Never want to be like Hoffa working in the union.
Working for the man every night and day. That's why. Because that's what he was doing. That's what the Hoffa was working for the man. He was a union guy. Whatever.
Oh, so much to learn. So young. So naive.
I heard one different name. That's all it was. God damn it, Brent.
Drink the rest of that glass.
This is supposed to be a safe space.
All right. What's next?
Turd on the Run. Turd on the Run. This was just.
And it's one of those throwaway tunes.
It's a fun one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not one you really remember until it plays, and you're like, yeah, okay, I get it. This.
I can't hear it in my head right now.
Yeah. I mean, again, like you said, it could be a throwaway.
Yeah. And then I think, are we on side 3 now? I'm just trying to. Ventilator Blues is around here somewhere.
Yeah, this comes next. Turn on the Ventilator Blues.
We talked about Mick Taylor not getting credited previously. He got credited for this because I think he wrote that cool riff that opens the tune.
And they gave him the credit on it. Nice.
They did.
Oh, good for them.
Yeah. He also wrote a song around this time called Crisscross. And that appeared much later on the Goat's Head Soup re-release in 2000 or something like that.
Was that the last album he played on?
No, I don't even know if he played on Goat's Head Soup. Maybe he did. But Crisscross was kind of a leftover song that was done around this time, and they put it in on Goat's Head Soup. He got a writing credit on it.
I just want to see his face.
Oh yeah, that's a weird tune.
It's weird, but it's a jam, man.
So that's 3 people. Apparently, Jagger said that's a trio. So what they did, it was 3 guys in a room. They jammed this out. It was just a completely authentic jam, and they liked the way that it sounded, and they kept it, and they added to it later on at Sunset, I believe. And I can't think of who the dudes were. They asked Jagger about it. He said there was 3 people to his recollection. He was obviously one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, it's funny because this is one of those songs where you're saying, like, you know, when we were recording it there, and then we brought it to Sunset Sound, and then you start laying in the lyrics in the vocals, and things start coming out. You're like, yeah, like this is what I wanted it to sound like. This is what I was trying to say there. This is what I was trying to say, like, you know, wanted it to be.
Yeah.
You know, when we were down in that dingy basement. And then so they jam out I Just Want to See His Face, and then Let It Loose, which is just, and this is really where for me I'm like, it really sucks me in, and I'm just like, you can't help but just stop and listen to what these guys are, you know, are singing, and how it's all coming together. And it just feels, I don't know, this is where it feels like they really capture the dramatic essence, I guess, of their surroundings and what this was.
See, for me, you know, I'm kind of foggy towards the end of the record because I wish that, you know, I'm a big fan of the short records, right? And I was saying earlier in the show that I would love to have this kind of as 2 releases.
This is one of my favorite. This is my favorite part, I think, of the album. Are these last 4 songs? I love "Torn and Afraid," Sweet Black Angel, "Let It Loose," all down the line. One of the best,
that's great too.
Greatest Rolling Stone songs ever.
Yeah,
and "Stop Breaking Down" is a really cool. You know, again, just it's a nice lead in to "Shine a Light" and then "Soul Survivor" at the very end. And you know, again, as I said, of "Shine a Light," it just felt like he was singing to Richards at this point. But otherwise, another, again, great gospel type song that they're able to just weave in another genre into this album.
Well, when you think that he's singing to potentially to Brian Jones, it makes it a little bit more sad, because that first line is like very woeful, and like, you know, I could see that you were dying.
Yeah,
to bring the party down for you a little bit there.
At least he was part of the 27. At least he was part of the 27 Club, right?
That's right.
Yeah, right. So,
what is that, like some kind of Pyrrhic victory? At least he was part of the 27 Club. What does that mean?
I'm just saying. Yeah, at least he's. It's how I cope. It's how I cope.
You should drink more of that. You should drink more of that water that you've got there.
Yeah, I had a couple sips. At least one.
And that's it. That's the record.
I love it, man. I love it from top to bottom. And, you know, I said this last time about Van Halen was, you know, oh, everybody says this is the best record. Of course you're going to think it's the best record. Sure. Think what you want. That's just your opinion, man. But I love this album.
Did you like it more than Sticky Fingers?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I Sticky Fingers is good. Like they have their pieces, but you know what, man? I did so much looking into the creation of this album.
Right.
That's what sticks to me with this. When you think about everything they were going through, all of the events that took place, and this album still comes out. Yeah, maybe they weren't happy with it at the time. I know Jagger wasn't a big fan of it at the time, and a lot of critics weren't either. But I mean, that just makes so much of why I love this album. It's everything you want to think about as a musician. You know, if you're a musician, you just want to have a place to go to be able to play. Maybe you don't want to be strung out on drugs, but if you were, you could get up and you could go down to the basement and you could record, and then you could go back to sleep and then wake up and you could record, and you could have your instruments stolen, and you could be like, well, that sucks. And then you just buy everybody new instruments. You know, it's just this feeling of like that's what you want as a musician. That's the level you want to reach, you know?
So let me ask you another question. How much did the backstory behind the record influence your like for the record?
Afterwards, it really increased it. But like I said, when I first listened to it, I really loved it. And I say, because again, you feel the grittiness, you feel just this, it just, you know, I didn't know it was recorded in a damp basement, and I could have told you it was recorded in a damp basement. Right. Because that's the way it felt, that's the way it sounded. Right. That's what I love about it, man. I love the realness of the recording of this album. And that's, again, you know, what I've realized, and what I said about Van Halen is what I love, I think, about music is the imperfections of it. You know, I talked about listening to 5150 after that, and like, this is so overproduced. It feels too overproduced for Van Halen.
Yes.
And you would go on to Goathead Soup, and it feels overproduced. In fact, if you go backwards and you listen to Sticky Fingers, it feels overproduced. You know, it's not even overproduced, but it's just, you know, it's more produced, right?
It's not as loose. Yeah, right. It's not as raw.
Right. And I mean, like that's what this album is. You're not going to find another album like it. You're not going to find another. Stones are never going to recreate this. They were never going to recreate this.
Nobody is.
No. This is the album.
This, in my mind, was just an absolute perfect example of letting the artist be the artist. You know, there were no controls established by anyone, the record company, the management, nothing. It was hosted at Keith Richards' home in the bowels of his, you know,
it could have gone
insanity.
It could have gone the complete other way, man. This could have gone absolutely backwards for them. You know, it's funny, again, we talk about them being professionals, and it's true. And you know, when you think about all of it, that's what these guys were meant to do. These guys, like, you know, and you think about Jagger, you know, Charlie Watts obviously helped push this, but, you know, again, Jagger's forward thinking, you know, looking into tomorrow. It doesn't matter what we did today. It's about what tomorrow is. You know, that thinking, that professionalism is what kept this band going forward.
Well, I think it's a mix of both. And that's a good point. But if you look at and we have the, you know, now we have the luxury of being able to see what came after Exile. You know, we aren't just holding the album in our hands going, I wonder what's going to happen next. We saw what happened. We saw what's, you know, It's Only Rock and Roll. We saw Goathead Soup. And you saw that Jagger took a little bit more of a lead because, as I said earlier, Richards was, you know, incapacitated by drugs. And you saw the band evolve and change until, you know, Richards came back into the fold eventually, right? With, you know, Tattoo You and then everything kind of went, you know, different, like crazy because of what happened in the 80s and stuff like that. And that's difficult for 70s bands to kind of adapt in the 80s, Undercover of the Night, all that stuff. I don't know. It's Exile was great because it was Richards kind of holding court, I think. Yeah.
It was, man. Yeah, it's going to be hard to find a better album.
Well, so we have to decide what's next.
We do.
On that note,
we haven't talked about it. I don't even know what you would assign me after this.
Off Stones, or do you want to go further into the Stones catalog?
No, let's get off Stones. Let's do Deep Purple. You've mentioned Deep Purple.
Really?
Yeah. Come on. What do you think? I know
I'm down with that.
You mentioned Deep Purple. I haven't gotten into Deep Purple.
Okay, so this is
going to be 100% fresh, clean. Obviously, I know Deep Purple for like Smoke on the Water and fucking Highway Star, but like outside of those, I don't know anything about Deep Purple. So give me the very first Deep Purple album I should listen to.
Okay, I want you to listen to Burn. Deep Purple, Burn.
Oh, this is exciting.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Like the cool thing about Deep Purple is that as you just said, you know, it's Smoke on the Water, it's Highway Star, maybe, right? And then maybe Child in Time, maybe I'm a Leo is another tune that people know. But those were all before. And there are some great records that get overlooked. Burn is the best one. And I want you to hear that album because
I don't need to hear anything leading up to it. You want me to jump right into Burn?
No.
Get.
Jump right into Burn.
Let's do it, baby.
All right. We're on.
Burn by Deep Purple. That's
It's
the
next.
album. That's next.
Awesome. All right. Cheers, my man.
Cheers, friend. Thank you. Thank you for
Cheers
this
to you and those like you.
Yes. Just like me.
You gonna be okay?
I think so.